the pole dancing stigma, pole dancing and our families. So this question comes from someone on Instagram. I'm not going to say the name because this is someone that messaged me privately. And when you hear what her question was, you'll also understand why I'm not going to share the name. But I will definitely be sending her a link to this video. So her question to me was, I think it's so cool and adorable that your son does everything with you. I was just curious if you've ever had to talk to your sons about not sexualizing all pole dancing, or if they just get it because they've grown up with it. With you and understand that you're an athlete. I only ask because I still keep my dancing mostly secret, as I feel like everyone just assumes I'm a stripper. Never heard that before. And I don't feel fully equipped to talk to them out of that notion. Also, if this is too personal, I apologize, and of course don't answer. My life is an open book. Nothing's too personal. Sometimes TMI. So this question was sent to me shortly after I performed on stage with Snoop Dogg. And I'll post a video of that and put a little link so that those of you who maybe didn't catch that can see some of this. But part of the reason why this person sent me this message was I was there with my son. So I was asked to go perform with Snoop Dogg. Awesome opportunity. I don't do a whole lot of performing. I enjoy it, but it's also one of those it's a lot of effort. But this was kind of a cool opportunity. Like, how many people can say that they got to perform live on stage with Snoop Dogg? And when I said to my son, basically when I got the message and confirmed that, okay, this is something that possibly could happen, I showed the message to my son, at the time, 14-year-old son. And when he saw it, he said, "Is that real?" I said, "Yeah, of course it's real. This is legit." Like, I always check all my sources when someone contacts me, whether it's a talent manager or anything. Like, I always check people's backgrounds, that kind of thing. Because, the internet. And he said, "Can you screenshot that to me? And can I share it with my friends, on Instagram?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" So it surprised me how excited he was about it. Turns out from there, he posted it and his friend said it wasn't real, which basically at that, I decided I absolutely was going to take up this gig, and I was going to do it because my son was so excited about it. And I actually was able to arrange to have him come with me, which was an awesome opportunity. I'm so grateful to Virgil, who arranged that and made that happen. So my son went with me. I performed on stage for multiple songs as a pole dancer, along with 3 other pole dancers on stage, basically wearing an itty bitty thong and thigh high pleather boots, with my son cheering on the sidelines, literally backstage. Like, he literally was standing right next to Snoop right before Snoop went on stage. So pre-show had posted some pictures of my story of my son and I backstage, about what was going on, things like that. And then afterwards posted snippets of my performance, which is, like I said, what inspired this question. So here's kind of the interesting on this. The best part is when this message came in, I shared it with my boys. I'm very open with my boys. I was not raised to have quite so open conversations in my family. And I think that was, to some degree, it took me a long time to be able to communicate a lot of things. So I try and encourage a lot of communication with my boys. We have a very open conversation about a lot of things. So I actually read this to my boys, both of them. We were in the car driving, and it was very interesting to hear the differences in answers between the two of them. So actually, even before I read this, my younger son, the day after this had all happened, basically when he posted the stuff in his Instagram that he was there, he got a selfie with Snoop, he was so excited about. He said that he had a friend come up to him at school, or not friend, a kid at school who had seen his Instagram and said, "So your mom's a stripper." And my son had the best response ever. He didn't even try and deny it, anything like that. His only response was, "But my mom can beat up your dad," and walked away. That made my day. And I've talked to my boys. I personally have never been a stripper. I have nothing against it. The strip club is where so much of our art form began. So to me, like, props, kudos to all of you that helped, father our sport, basically. That's where it came from. So I have nothing against it. Personally, I've never been a stripper. At the same time, like, if that was the direction I was going and that was something I wanted to do, fantastic. Okay. So like I said, zero judgment there, but I personally never have been. But I love the fact that my son didn't even try to deny it, didn't try to argue it, didn't try to basically belittle it in any way of, no, she's not, or she'd never be associated with that. Because trust me, I'm associated with strippers all the time. But instead just pointed out how badass all of us pole dancers are, like, on a regular basis. Like, we're able to do amazing feats of strength, flexibility, and just overall prowess, and amazing things with our body. So like I said, his response was one of the best ones yet, and I was so proud. So then later on, when I got this question, And I read it to my sons. My older son, very different from my younger son. So my older son did not go to the concert with me. I actually did not invite him, knowing that that would not be his first choice of thing. He's very much an introvert, like me. I know, hard to tell sometimes. So for him, loud noises, big crowds are exhausting. He enjoys spending time on his own as much as possible. He likes his quiet time. He and I travel well together because we have fun. We do our outing and then we each go to our separate corners, enjoy our quiet time, and then reconvene. So we're both very much fond of our personal space. My little one, on the other hand, very much an extrovert. He is like this all day long. So for him, the concert was best thing ever. Like, he loved it. The noise, the commotion, the everything. Like, that was his jam. Those were his people. So my older one, the interesting thing was, when I read him this, I said, well, what do you think about it? You know, what do you think of like the whole sexualization and pole dance and stuff? And he was like, doesn't bother me. He's like, I guess we've just grown up with it. I mean, I started pole dancing when they were little. I ran a studio. They were in and out of it. They both did aerial. The little one longer than the older one. The little one actually performed with MSIRC. He performed with Sophie Doss before she was on America's Got Talent, doing a lot of aerial stuff. The older one didn't do as much aerial. He kind of dabbled in it, mostly because I had a studio and he had an opportunity to train. But they've grown up with it. When I used to go up to LA when they were little, I would take them with me. I love having my kids with me. I've always been more of a frame of mind of, I would rather do things together as a family than just drop my kids off. I definitely love having my alone time away from my kids, because I think that's important for self-care as well. But I love doing stuff with my kids. So when I used to train martial arts, my kids grew up on the side of, the training, the dojo. When I would go to fights, I have pictures of my son when he was about 2 years old, basically sleeping inside my sparring bag on the edge of the ring as I was fighting. So they've just grown up with that. Very much of, I want them to be a part of my world in the same way I want to be a part of their world. I try not to separate our worlds of theirs and mine. We intersect. So they grew up on the side of the fighting ring. Then when I transitioned over to pole and aerial after my knee injury, they were a part of that too. And I never made a big deal about it. They, of course, have heard a lot of the comments, especially from, other sides of the family. So I know that they've heard all this stuff, but at the same time, they're very positive about it. So my oldest son, when he was in junior high, which is a tough time because kids can be jerks. He came home from school one time and was like, he got in the car and I picked him up and just burst into tears. I was like, what's wrong? And he was crying because he said some kids at school had called me a stripper. So with that, it was sweet because, like I said, this was the first time this had come up. And I said, well, that I'm not, but, let's talk about this. And basically he said, no, I told him about how, you had your knee injury and, you were, having a really hard time with that. And then when you found pole and aerial, like, it made you really happy and it made you really strong. And I told him all, and he's like, they didn't get it. So that was the first time we kind of dealt with this. For me at that time, I would say, if anything, I was a little upset at the parents of those kids, because I knew that the only reason why the kids even knew that I did pole was because their parents were people who were friends with me on Facebook, who had been friends with me before I started pole. So that didn't make me super happy. But at the same time, we all raise our kids in our own way. So like I said, that was the first incident that I'd had with my kids with all of that. So this now, when I asked my son, my oldest son, who's now 16, this question about, what do you think about pole and all of that? And he said, well, I've just grown up with it. And I said, okay, so it doesn't bother you? He said, no. It's like, it just, you're really strong and you do amazing things. And I said, okay, do your friends know what I do? And he got really quiet. And I've met his friends. We've gone, did day trips together. They come to the house, they play video games, they watch movies. They're amazing. I love hanging out with his friends. It never occurred to me that, never said anything about it. And I said, your friends don't know that I do pole. And I said, what do you tell your friends that I do? And he said, well, I tell them that you do fitness and, you do aerial stuff. I said, okay, so just not pole dancing. And he said, no. And he kind of seemed like ashamed. And I said, no, buddy, like, I'm not mad. I said, I just want to hear your honest answer. Like, I'm curious. And his response was, he said, no, he said, I'm not ashamed of it. He said, they just don't understand. And I just don't want to take the time to explain it to them. He said, I think what you do is amazing. And I don't have a problem with it. He said, but a lot of people just don't understand it. And that I absolutely got. And I would say that is 100% true. Is, any of us that do pole dancing especially, but pole and aerial also, we get that stigma. We get people that, why are you doing that? Or why are you wearing so little clothing? Or why are you moving your body like that? We've all heard it. And we all know personally what it has done for us mentally, physically, emotionally. Whether those people understand it or not, everyone's fighting a battle we know nothing about. You don't know what stigmas they're battling. You don't know what, insecurities they have or struggles or anything like that. So, in answer to this question, in a very long roundabout way,